Hi AP, welcome to your first dive into while loops. Just like we've done with other things before, you'll notice that we are doing this without the P5 library first, and then we're going to introduce while loops to P5. So in our starter code, which you should click and go to File, Duplicate to make a copy of, you should see that there is no more setup or draw function for today. With all of our code along videos, please feel free to pause as needed. We are talking about some new structures here, and there are some very nuanced pieces we have to make sure you don't create the dreaded infinite loop. So pause, rewatch, please make sure this is open in a window as you are coding along with it, and let's get started. So we are going to create a prompt with those prompts and alerts that we've seen before, but we are going to use a while loop with this prompt. Because what I would like to have happen is I want to ask people if they like dancing, and I really only want them to say yes or no. And the problem with this is if we don't use a while loop, you could put in anything. Like you could put in eggplant monster and the code would just give a response and move on. And I don't want people to be able to opt out by putting in a random term. I want them to have to answer correctly. And there's a lot of reasons why you might want this. You might want to circumvent people being rude. You might want to make sure that your code progresses correctly. Maybe they get an outcome based on if they say yes or no, and those are the only outcomes you've programmed in. You don't want a weird third option that's going to mean they can't progress further in the program. So we're going to create a while loop to do this, and we're going to learn about some key components of our while loop. The first component, which we are going to be using right now, and will not always be using, but right now we are going to, is this thing called a flag variable. A flag variable is going to control whether our while loop is running or not. So in this instance, it's a variable, so I'm going to start with a let, and I'm going to call this Q1 for question 1, and I'm just going to say that Q1 right now is false. And I'll leave some notes that this is a flag variable, and it tells me I have not yet gotten an acceptable response. So a flag variable, just to define this for you guys, is a variable that controls if a loop is running. So if you guys have ever seen people racing cars or racing, you might see people holding flags up and down. When the flag is up, it's telling people run the race. When the flag is down, it's telling them to stop. So right now our flag variable is up, and it's telling everyone this loop is supposed to be running, and at some point in our code we're going to put the flag down, turn it off so we get out of our loop. Now, I want to ask a question, but I want to ask this question as long as, or while, this flag variable is false. So here's how that's going to look. I am going to start with while, that's the name of my loop, and just like other things in JavaScript, I'm going to have a condition, in parentheses, and then I'm going to have a curly brace to open and a curly brace to close, and everything between these two curly braces on line 8 and line 10 are things that are happening in this loop. So my condition right now is that while Q1 is false, and notice I'm saying is the same as false, which is the double equal signs, then I want all of this stuff to happen. There are also other ways to write this statement to say that Q1 is false, and if you are interested in those, please come see me during lab lounge hours. We can talk about ways to shorten this expression if you'd like. But now I have to decide what happens when I haven't gotten the answer I want yet. And the thing that needs to happen is first, I need to ask a question to the user, and I need to get their response. So I'm going to make another variable to hold their answer, and I'm going to call this Q1 response. And I'm going to say that Q1 response is equal to the prompt, do you like dancing? And remember when we use these prompts, saying equal to prompt is really saying it's equal to the response of this prompt. It's equal to whatever the user puts in, which is great because that gives me something to check. So I have asked this question inside my while loop between the curly braces on line 8 and line 10. And now let's keep adding inside this while loop. So on my next line, I'm going to code out what happens after they give me this answer. So I'm going to say if Q1 response is yes, then I want to alert them that I like dancing too. Otherwise, if they say no, I want to give a sad response. And I don't want a double parenthesis. I want a sad response. So I'm going to say alert, that's sad. Otherwise, I want to tell them, I don't know if that's an answer. Try again. Notice this isn't a prompt, and I'm going to show you why in just a minute. This is just a question asking, should they try it again? So, or it's just an alert that's going to say this and ask them, but not give them a prompt. It's just going to give them the okay. So this will run, and it will take a prompt and give answers, but there's a huge problem with this. So please do not hit play yet. Make sure you go up and save your file if you are tempted to hit play. Right now, this would create something called an infinite loop. And an infinite loop means that we have coded something that we have no way to get out of. Right now, this flag variable starts false, and it's always false, which means this loop is always going to be running. So we need a way to get out of this loop. And we should get out of this loop whenever we get a response that's acceptable to us. So an acceptable response to me is them saying yes. So if they say yes, I want to say that the Q1 variable is no longer false. Now it's true. And notice I'm using one equal sign and not two because I'm not looking to see if it's the same as true. I am setting its value equal to true. Q1 is now holding the value true. The same is true if they say no. It's a bummer that they said no, but that is a good response for me. So on the next line, I'm going to say that Q1 can also be true. Now here's where it gets a little tricky. In my else statement, that's not a good answer for me. I want them to have to try again. So if I get the else answer, I don't want to change Q1 to true. I want to give them this alert, and then I want the loop to restart. And when the loop restarts, it's going to go up to line 9, and it's going to ask them, do you like dancing? And then it's going to continue running through the rest of this logic. It's going to check to see if they said yes, then check to see if they said no, or check to see if they gave me a stupid answer again. And if they keep giving me stupid answers, it's going to keep prompting that they need to try and give a better one. So as long as we have this flag variable changing to true somewhere in our conditionals or somewhere in our while loop, we're going to go ahead and hit play and see what happens. So it asks me, do you like dancing? And if I type in gibberish and I hit OK, uh-oh, I messed something up. It's saying Q1, it says Q1 response. That means I forgot an S. So down here it should say Q1 response. Good on the fly troubleshooting. I should have noticed from the color. Let's try this again. Do you like dancing? I give it a nonsense response. I hit OK. It says, I don't know if that's the answer. Try again. I hit OK again. And now it asks me, do you like dancing? And now if I hit yes, it's going to say cool me too, meaning that I am on line 12 where it says cool me too. And as soon as I hit OK, that Q1 flag variable is going to turn true. And now I'm out of my loop and it's done running. If I keep giving garbage answers, it's going to keep asking me forever until I don't give it a garbage answer. So now let's try giving it no. It says that's sad, and then it exits the loop. Now one thing that we're going to notice, and we're going to cover some ways to kind of protect against this once we get to our next unit, is right now, if I say yes with a lowercase y and I hit OK, it's going to tell me it doesn't know if that's an answer. And that's because to computers, lower and uppercase letters are a huge difference, and the computer actually reads them as different words. So for right now, until we learn better ways of fixing this, one easy way to fix this in your code is to turn these into compound conditional statements with that OR logical operator. So remember, the OR logical operator is the two parallel lines that live between your backspace or your delete and your return or enter key. It's on the far right side of your keyboard, like very close to the top. It's next to where you find the curly braces. If you hold shift and hit that button, you get the two parallel lines. That's your OR. And then you can say, or Q1 response, I spelled it right this time, is the same as lowercase yes. That should also be acceptable to the program. And you can do the same thing with no. You can say or Q1 response is equal to lowercase no, and now they can give you either of these answers. This is also something where we might get into talking about user design a little bit. Right now in this question, if I was the user and not the person programming it, maybe I don't know if I want a yes or no answer. Maybe I'm trying to answer something like, I like dancing on Tuesdays but not on Thursdays. I don't know why that's not a good answer. So you might include instructions in your prompt that say things like answer yes or no. Something that you can do that's really helpful here is including line breaks, which will make the next line drop down. A line break is, it's like hitting enter on your keyboard and it'll actually show up in your code. You can do this by hitting the slash that you are not used to using. This is the one that shares a key with that parallel line that you find for or, and then typing the letter N. And now when you hit play, you'll get this question and you can see, do you like dancing, and answer yes or no are on 2 separate lines. This is really handy if you ever decide to do multiple choice questions. You can make every multiple choice answer on a different line by doing that slash, again, the one that's between your delete and your return key, or your backspace and your enter key, and then hitting N. I'm going to hit yes to back out of this. So here is your task for today. You guys are going to follow this same structure of making a flag variable and a while loop controlled by that flag variable to make a 3-question quiz. Quiz can be about anything you guys want. It can be about yourselves. It can be based on something you're learning in this class or another class. But you should make sure that you are accounting for what happens if they give you the right answer, an answer that is either close or definitely wrong, and then an answer that is like completely incorrect. And they, unlike this answer where we had 2 ways out, they should only be able to move on to the next question if they got the first question or the second question 100% right. So make sure you are only changing the value of that flag variable once they've gotten everything right. Again, you're going to need to make your own flag variable for each while loop, and you're going to need to have your own prompt in each while loop. The names of flag variables don't really matter, just things that make sense to you. Same with the names of your responses. Good luck, guys, and please come to Lab Lounge hours or ask people in the Slack if you have any questions. Bye!